Hello again, everyone. It's Charlie Hall from Polygon, and it's been a while since we've been inside Minecraft, and that's because Mr. Squishy has been busy. How you doing, Mr. Squishy?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
Not too bad. Now, the last time that we got together, it was for your Minecraft version of Pac-Man, wasn't it? It was a whole Pac-Man cabinet, and I'll link to that video where you gave me a tour of the guts of that thing. But tell me where we're at today.
Well, we're in a new world that I created that re-implements Pokémon Red inside of Minecraft, just in vanilla, no mods required.
Well, you say re-implements. That's an interesting way to put it. What does that mean?
So, Minecraft has command blocks which allow you to write code in-game. So it's a way, there's no easy way to just take the ROM for one of these old games and dump it into Minecraft.
Okay.
To get all of the functionality in the game, you basically need to recode everything from the ground up inside the game. So that's what I've done here.
Well, this isn't very impressive, frankly. This is just a great big Pokemon black wall.
It's
I'm really
boring,
disappointed.
isn't it?
Yeah.
Yep.
So, well, it was a good talk.
It was.
I'm glad we could stop by.
Yep, nice
and
to
I'll
see
see
you
you next time.
So if we walk around our less than exciting set, we get out into the main play area. So I wanted to have something kind of cool, right? It's a cool map. It's a cool idea. So we needed to match that with a cool stadium. So if you double tap space, you can fly up and fly around.
Oh, this is batshit. Look at this! This is the by Mr. Squishy. There it is, right there. This is nuts, dude.
So we got the 3 starters and their final evolutions around, and then kind of modeled after the Pokemon Stadium for the center play area there.
Oh my goodness. Now when I saw Pac-Man, right, it was kind of hovering above this green field. But it was a beautiful cabinet nonetheless. This is something else entirely.
Well, since I'm able to keep you encapsulated in here, we can check out the command blocks below this later. That's where all of the nightmare is down below the map.
How do I go down again?
Shift.
Shift, thank you. It's been a while since I've done creative mode. Look at this guy.
So I had a little bit of help in making these. I had a guy named Miro gave me a hand with some of the building components. We worked together on the set, but all the coding was me on this map.
Oh, this is gorgeous. Well, we can go right under the battlefield here, too. Look at this down here. Oh, man. So, all right, so how did you do this? Did you put it in some kind of program to spit out the appropriate colors of wool and all that, or did you do it by hand?
Well, the set itself, we were able to download some 3D meshes that people had made of actual models of the Pokemon and then import those in. Other than that, it was just, building it out. The game itself, that was about 21 months of work.
I'm sorry, how many months?
About 21. I started in June of 2015 and wrapped up in March 2017.
So you've been doing this basically since Pac-Man came out?
Pretty nearly. Yeah, I started probably a month or two after Pac-Man released and went effectively straight into this with a couple breaks here and there.
This is rad.
So as cool as this is, we can actually play the game since
what?
that's what the map's all about.
I guess that's what you said, isn't it? All right, show me this thing playing.
That is what I said. So you got a little book in your hand there.
I do, yeah.
It has some information. If you give it a right click, you can change the Game Boy colors. So if you had, let's say you had a white Game Boy or a yellow Game Boy, you can just select that and it'll change up the colors on it. So you can play with whatever Game Boy you had growing up if you had one.
Oh, that's great.
Just a fun little feature. And then I'm going to go in and I'm going to hit start, and that should start up the game.
Okay.
After a little bit of delay. That's about 10 seconds. It's showing me some instructions on screen for what to set things to. But it'll just kick right off into it.
What? Wait a minute. When we looked at Pac-Man, you had to have it on a time delay, as I recall, and you had to have Pac-Man like playing for a number of hours before like anything would happen, right?
No, I think Pac-Man was pretty real time, actually.
Okay. Okay.
This similarly is pretty real time. It'll take inputs. There might be, I don't know, maybe a tenth of a second of delay between the controls and it actually responding, but it's pretty good. About as good as I can make it. So I can just play here. I can start giving it inputs. So the inputs are mapped to keyboard controls, WASD to move around, and then there are a couple other things you can detect in Minecraft. You can detect basically the buttons space, shift, F, and Q. So those are each mapped to different Game Boy inputs. So I can just hit F and we'll get a new game and we'll get the whole intro sequence with setting our name and our rival's name.
What?
So I'm just going to go through and play this.
Yeah, go right ahead, man. Knock yourself out.
Of course, when I look at this, all I see is the amount of time it took to do each one of these.
Oh,
it's like there's an hour,
goodness.
and there's an hour, and there's 4 hours. And we'll do a new name. We'll do, I don't know. We'll call him Beeb.
Beeb.
Just because it's easy.
The vicious Beeb.
So yeah, the whole game, as far as I was able to implement it, it's pretty much all in here. All the same mechanics as the original game. I was able to get a couple of the bugs from the original back in.
What do you mean the bugs? What does that mean?
Well, so the original game had missing no, which was actually corrupted data in the game. I was able to re-implement some of that. So there was a glitch where you could talk to an old man that was in, I think it's Viridian City, and it'll basically corrupt the spawn table for Pokemon you can encounter in tall grass depending on what name you give yourself at the beginning of the game.
Huh.
So
okay.
I did a little bit of research on that and basically reverse engineered it and was able to implement the same effect in here. So you could go corrupt your spawn table and get, corrupted Pokemon that you can catch and battle with.
That's ridiculous. Now, our Allegra Frank, who is the mistress of all things Pokemon, wanted me to ask you about the Mew glitch. Is the Mew glitch in here as well?
I did not do Mew.
Oh, no!
So the problem with the control system that I have here is I can only do one input at a time.
Okay.
So doing the Mew glitch originally required you to hold a directional button and then the start menu at the same time. So
Okay.
there was no way for me to do that. And Mew glitch is associated with a lot of other glitches. So it was kind of a rabbit hole that I didn't want to jump down.
Wild. All right, so before I joined you here in the survey, you had me download a texture pack.
Mm-hmm.
What does the texture pack accomplish to provide what I'm seeing on the screen here, if anything?
So it does just about everything that you see on the screen itself.
Okay.
Outside of the screen textures, there's not too much it does. The Game Boy case is actually comprised of retextured blocks, but that's only because there are some rendering issues with the coloring of the sprites if you use a solid block like a grass block as opposed to a transparent block like a glass block. So it's just a bunch of glass that's been retextured to avoid those issues. But for the most part, it's just several thousand textures to get all of the sprite sets and all of the text strings, and everything you see on there is some item that has been retextured.
So the player character
Mm-hmm.
right here that I'm seeing, I think he's standing at the table. Is that
Yep.
in there?
Yep.
So is that one single retextured block that I'm seeing?
So the way it works is we have tools in Minecraft, and tools have durability values. So every time you use a tool, it drops its durability by 1. Diamond tools, I think, have about 1,500 durability values, and each one of those values can have its own texture. So I was able to remap, diamond hoes and swords and shovels and all of these tools that you have and assign textures to each data value. So the player is actually, and it depends on what action I'm taking. So the player is split up into 2 textures, the head texture and the body texture.
Okay.
And that's so that the head can render in front of tall grass and the body can render behind it. And then each direction is 2 different sprites. So there are 2 textures for looking up, right, down, and left. And then there are 2 textures for when you're moving. This walking animation that's running now are independent textures, separate from the standing texture. And that's the same for every NPC in the game. Oak has the same number of textures. My rival here has the same number of textures. This Pokeball has those textures. They all have it.
And so you're just switching between various states of damaged or used items as you move the character around.
Correct.
And this bookcase here, this is another item with a with a different damage state.
Yep. Yep, all of the background, they're all just retextured. Everything you see here, so the white background is a texture. The overlays with each one of those little Pokeball icons is a texture. The frame with the little black arrows, that's a texture. The text box and all of each individual text box letter. So there has to be a command block to summon in every single one of those text characters for every character in the entire game.
I imagine this looks like a complete mess without that texture pack added.
You would not see, you'd see a bunch of diamond pickaxes and some glass.
That's insane. Oh, man. I'm beginning to see why this might have taken you so long to create. But of course, just like Pac-Man, it's not all here in this room with us, is it? It's kind of all somewhere else. So can you take me there?
Yep, so I can just hit stop on the controls, and that'll spit me out down here. So we're going to go down and around below the platform here and break down below the map. So we're actually very near the top of the world right now. I think the world is it's 256 high. I think we're probably at Y200.
Oh, you just punched a hole right there, didn't you? Okay.
You just fly through the bottom.
Whoa!
This is...
I hope I didn't break anything.
Nah, you're
Holy
fine.
Shit.
This is what makes it run. And this is why it took so long. So every green or orange block you see here is a command block. It has one line of code in it. This took about 357,000 command blocks, so 357,000 lines of code. And everything in here is laid out. I mean, I can tell you where every system is, what everything does.
All right, what's this tower right here? I'm standing next to this tower of green blocks with a line of orange underneath it. What's here?
So that is, you're standing on top of enemy animations for battles. When an enemy uses a move, it's the animation it runs associated with that move. The first line of big commands down here is the primary animation, and then there are some moves that have multi-turn effects, where the second turn runs a different animation from the first turn. So this is the second turn effect for move ID, looks like probably about 15. So the IDs are moving down in that direction. There are 165 essentially rows in this database, and so it just looks up the animation from, decodes the move ID that you've selected and looks up the proper animation.
This is insane.
So
all right, can I open one of these up? Can I tap on this and see what it looks like?
You can right click it. It's actually, you may need to be opt in order to do that. You should be able to do it now.
Okay.
It's probably not going to mean anything.
Core underscore option animations underscore min equals 2, score option animation equals 21. And I will not touch anything else while I'm in there.
So the basics of that are, in Minecraft, we have scoreboard objectives, which are basically integer variables, and you can store those variables on different entity types. And so that's checking a core entity that holds a bunch of, kind of generic variables that influence how the game operates. It's asking, what is your animations options setting? Are you showing animations or are you not showing animations? And if you're not, it skips all of this. So this big mass that took me like 3 months to work on, you can turn off animations and just never see any of it. But that's how the original game had it, so I put it in here.
All right. First floor, women's lingerie. Second floor, men's clothing. What's down here?
So this is just the player side of it. So this is for the player's Pokemon when they run the animations. Down below here, this is all of the logic for each one of those 165 moves. So this is checking, like, is the opponent flying right now and therefore can't be hit? For something like Growl, have you already growled too many times and so it has no effect?
What's this multicolored patch right below that?
So there are 4 different encodings here. This first one that has emerald blocks and planks and wool, that was more of a helper encoding for me. When I was designing the different movement units, it's used a little bit in trainer AI, but it's not too heavily relied upon. The second one that's all wool, this is an encoding of the type of move that it is. So is it a fire move? Is it a ground move? That's used for effectiveness calculations. Is the move super effective or not very effective?
That's rad.
And then to be honest with you, I don't remember what these two are. I think it might be whether the move can be countered, and then yeah, I'd have to. I probably have it labeled somewhere, but it's more just data encoding for how does this all interact.
So okay, so below that we've got another section here. It looks like some more green and red wool over here too. Was this another helper layer?
No, so this is the TM-HM learn set. So this is saying every Pokemon has a row in this, and then there are 50 TMs and 5 HMs. Green wool means that Pokemon can learn the move, and red wool means that it can't learn the move. So when you go to use an item in the party menu, it'll look up for every Pokemon in your party, what's their species, can they learn the move, and then it'll run the proper function if you select them. And so all of this, we're kind of getting into now some of the Pokemon summoning stuff. So down below that, there's a bunch of core data for each Pokemon. So when I create a new Pokemon in the world, it needs to know what its species is, what level is it, how much experience does it have, that kind of general variables that everybody has. So those all get initialized when a new Pokemon is created based on its ID.
Okay. But then even further below, we've got these big numbers here. Here's 38. 58. What is this layer
So
for?
now we're getting into the world. And if you actually follow me over here,
okay,
you'd probably need a side-by-side to actually be able to spot it. But this is Pallet Town. So
right below us?
This right here. Yep, this is Pallet Town. So the melon blocks are doorways. So this is your house. This is your rival's house. This is Oak's lab. And then you got the C route going south and Route 1 going north. And so what I've done here is this is a physical representation of all of the map, and every region, which that's what those numbers refer to, is what the region number is, has its own encoding. So, for example, white wool in this area would have, be mapped to a specific damaged item texture. And white wool in region 61 would be mapped to a different damaged item texture. And then those all get decoded when you're moving around the map. It basically looks at, all right, what is the block that should be converted into a texture? It checks some command blocks over there to convert it into the actual texture, and then it displays that on screen.
Wow. All right, well, there's another layer. You can barely make it out. There's another layer, though, even below this. So we've got some more command blocks here underneath the world map.
Mm-hmm.
And then this looks a little more sparse down here. What's all this?
So all of this, including actually the wool that's right under the world map, all of this is data specific to the tile. So there's a whole bunch of stuff in the wool that's basically saying, can I walk into this tile from a given direction? So like if I'm trying to walk into a mountain, can I move into that tile? Huh. There's some other data in there about, can I surf on the tile? Can I fish on it? Can I fly or dig out of this region? Can I get on my bike here? Then we get down to these command blocks, and every level in this is a different piece of information. So the first level, which is going to be really sparsely populated, you might be able to pick out just one or two commands. These are hidden items.
Oh, look at those. Okay.
So they'll just have, if there's a potion, there'd be a command block that tells the game, there is a potion here, here's the ID number of the item, and then the game can detect that when you push A.
So this block here, a couple layers of wool below the world map, is probably a potion or something.
It would be something like some hidden item. Yeah, it's item ID number 71, whatever that is. I've got no idea what it is, but that's what it does.
All right.
Underneath that, there are two command blocks. Those are for encounter areas. So if you're walking in tall grass, it basically says what's the encounter rate in this region, and if you do get an encounter, which spawn table do I pick to generate the Pokemon? Underneath that, there will probably be 3 in most of them. It can be up to 4 command blocks. Those are when you step onto the tile, is there an action that's immediately taken? So if you're stepping onto a doorway, for example, it would need to run the transition sequence and teleport you to a new region, so it'll have pointers for all of that. Down underneath that, which we can see over here, there's another 4 set of command blocks. This is if you push A, and what's the function that runs then? So it'd be, is there a sign? And if so, then start printing out the text that's stored on that sign from the sign database.
Can I right click on this?
Yep, you can right click on anything you want.
Scoreboard player set at E bracket name equals reader ID number 1.
So at E is a selector that allows me to pick out an entity. And entities are the objects, basically, that hold these integer values. And so what I'm doing there is I'm telling the game there are types of text strings that you can read in. So this is type 1. And then reference ID, be stored somewhere in here, temp2, reference ID 33. So text string number 33 of type 1. And print that out.
Wow.
And then
in diamond pickaxes of a particular state of damage.
Exactly. And we're almost there. We got one more level.
Okay.
Which was probably the most painful level to add. These are NPC markers.
Oh, these here.
Yep, these single standalone command blocks. Every command block on this level is an NPC in the game. And so references the ID. Every NPC has its own unique ID number. I think there are I don't really remember. I think there might be around 830 NPCs. So it'll look up that NPC from the NPC database and then load in, whatever data is associated with it.
Wow. And then what is it that I was just standing on? What's all this brown and green and red?
So this is just the world floor. It's also mapped out into chunks. So the way that Minecraft is organized, it's into 16 by 16 by 16 cubic chunks.
Right.
And so this is... We're in what are referred to as spawn chunks right now, these green and red. Spawn chunks are wherever you go in the world, these are always going to be loaded. So any command blocks that are in these green and red chunks are always going to be running.
Oh, okay.
Now, there's a fixed number of chunks that can be in spawn chunks, but I actually wasn't able to fit it in just spawn chunks. I needed more space. So these orange and purple are chunks that I'm forcibly loading. So that's what these little black hoppers are. These are chunk loaders to make sure that all of these areas always stay loaded.
Oh, that's so funny. You had to kind of glitch the game in a way,
right,
to get it to recognize enough physical volume.
Space. I needed more space.
To put all the stuff. Wow. And then over here, this is a wall over here? This is just
so you don't want to walk too far out that way, because you will start to get a little bit of lag, because as you move away, if it tries to unload a chunk with command blocks, the game gets unhappy.
I see one piece of yellow wool here. What is this thing here for?
That is where the player is currently standing.
Oh!
So these NPC command blocks can be used for collision detection. So if I'm trying to walk forward, it will check, is there a block in front of me that would basically prevent me from stepping into that tile. Similarly, if the NPC tries to move south, is there another block, represented by yellow wool here, that would prevent me from moving into the player?
So we should be right on top of that
beginning.
So this is that starting library right here?
This is Oak's lab. So we're in the battle right now, so we're probably positioned right here.
Look at that. This is remarkable. This is remarkable. I was blown away when you showed me Pac-Man. But that, compared to this, this is something different entirely. How long did it take you to really come up with the concept of how to even organize this?
It wasn't that structured. It was very piecemeal. So the way that I organized the project was basically every month I would set myself one or two systems or components that I wanted to work on and get fleshed out. So it might be, I'm going to work on battle animations, or I'm going to work on getting items to work, or the player menus and the start menu. And I would just build out the data for that section, kind of irrespective of any other data elements that existed. That led to some unfortunate... It led to some of the code not being written as well as it could have been, because every system was viewed independently. There was a lot of redundancy, because I didn't know, looking at NPCs, for example, I didn't know how I was going to make NPCs move. I might have done them in the last 3 months of development. So I did 18 months of work with no idea how they were going to work and made a whole bunch of systems. And then the last 3 months I said, oh, well, I probably could have done all of this better, but I don't want to go back and rewrite, 100,000 lines of code to fix this. So I'll just kind of glue them on top. The saving grace of working in Minecraft, nobody can see how bad your code is, because nobody's going to go through and read these command blocks, or even if they did, understand what they're saying. So I can just tell people that the code is great, even if it's a little rough in some places, as long as it works.
So Pokemon Red, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but Pokemon Red came out a while ago, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, when did it come out?
I think we're in the 20th anniversary year right now. So
okay,
probably...
that sounds about right. Games have progressed a long way since then. But if you ever wanted to get your tiny little human mind around what it means to program a game, like physically, literally, the amount of work and detail and, because you didn't invent how to program Minecraft, you just ported it in a way into this pseudo-physical space. But this is a representation of all the work that went into this original game 20 years ago. And it's all around us, Mr. Squishy. This is remarkably, it's a hell of a metaphor.
Well, I appreciate you saying that.
Wow. I'm completely blown away.
It was a lot of time, a lot of work, but I'm very happy with how it turned out. And more importantly, this is just a hobby for me, so I had fun making it. I mean, that's at the end of the day, I'm not trying to sell this. I'm not trying to build it up or refer people to some other project. This was just, it's something to keep my brain occupied and something fun to screw around with.
Unbelievable. Folks can go and get this and download it and play it at home, right?
Yep, it's free to download. I'm sure there will be download links in the description somewhere.
Wow.
Resource pack is all bundled, so there's nothing special that you have to download.
I can only imagine that there are at least a couple industrious programming instructors or professors that are hopefully going to take their students inside here and try and blow their minds and and show them what it looks like from the inside. But man, all right, let's get back up there and finish this battle. Right. I want to see how you do.
So we gotta fly all the way back up then, because the world goes all the way down to Y level 1, so it uses pretty much all of the 256 blocks of vertical space that the game has to offer.
Whoops. I gotta maneuver myself
Here,
through that tiny hole. There we go.
I'll get you up there.
Thank you.
So let's just fly up. So I got my potion in case I need it. I don't know if I will or not, but I just found the first battle a little tough without the potion. So this is, you see the little scratch animations at the tackle. The Squirtle just moved to the left and the right. So that would have been controlled by those animation sets that we were talking about earlier. And those little scratch marks. Each frame of that animation was a different stack of command blocks down there.
Come on, get him!
I'm doing my best.
Get him!
We got one more hit. Ah, nice. Not a problem. So, as with the normal game, we'll get experience here. We should level up, get up to level 6.
Oh.
Gain some new stats, see our new stats. So everything you see here, that's a new function, right? The leveling up is its own function. That's tied into evolution and learn sets. Rendering that box with all the stats, that's its own function.
That's really remarkable. I picked the wrong Pokemon, but you know what? This is an incredible project. Thank you, Mr. Squishy, for sharing this with us, and for taking me on a tour today. I know this is very close to your heart, but nonetheless, I appreciate you taking the time to show me around. Man, what's next? What are you going to do next?
I'm going to take a break. I worked for 21 months on this thing. I need a break.
A much-deserved break to you. Thanks again, and let me know when you got the next cool thing to show off.
Certainly, I look forward to it.